Hello YouTube, this is my review of the new Jeff Gibbs directed, Michael Moore produced film, Planet of the Humans. It is a critique of the current mainstream environmental movement, specifically the extent to which it has become melded with fossil fuel interests and in the views of the filmmakers has not sufficiently done enough to mitigate climate change. They were recently on our interview in The Hill, which I watched, which was very enlightening as to the point of the movie. They did mention that, contrary to a point in the film that wrestled a lot of feathers, I'm sure, they are not advocating population control. I think they could have made that much more clear in the film, as per capita emissions between different societies vary widely, and I think to ascribe the rise in emissions to population is very, very simplistic. However, I think that they were very enlightening in that particular interview, so I do recommend you, if you've already seen it, do watch the interview and maybe even watch the interview before the film. The film is very provocative. I don't think it was as thorough and meticulous in its presentation of data and sources as it could have been, nor was it as plain clothes, so to speak, in its editing. However, I do think that the core points it made were very valid. We need a huge reduction in energy use. It is no point greenifying the level of energy consumption that we currently have, quote unquote greenifying. They do make very, again, I don't think it's super well evidenced or sourced, and I actually do question the actual numbers, but the point they make regarding the amount of energy and mining and conflict of interests in the current renewable energy system that has ingratiated itself in the mainstream environmental movement is a very good point. I also think it is worth a watch to people who can kind of disagree with it based on evidence that they know from how they've already followed these issues. I do think it's a little bit excessively provocative and very light on solutions. I do understand the need for polemic here, and I think their interview in The Hill did sway me to kind of understand where they were coming from about sounding the alarm bells. This is super, super urgent, especially when they mentioned, as many other organizations and articles I've read have, how COVID-19 illustrates how quickly and dramatically and sufficiently we can organize ourselves as a society to address a huge problem. Energy is our energy mix and climate change and our total environmental footprint is one measure that I feel deserves that kind of mobilization, or something at least along the lines. I also do feel that they did do a good job in stressing how currently existing capitalism, to use a Chomsky phrase, really does not provide a framework under which you can reduce consumption and provide a better outline of things. So there you have it. I hope that wasn't too rambly. I do recommend watching the film, again, if you can watch it critically and notice some of the sourcing and glazing over of the graphs and data. It's not to say that there's no graphs or data, that the points could not be well argued. I do think there is a pretty good body of literature documenting some points they make, less on others, but the documentary overall and the point that it makes is worth considering for someone already familiar with environmental issues and the environment. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.